I did it in like 48 minutes. So I was probably like 6:45 pace. I was about to say nothing crazy, but I know that sounds.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want to follow this up with my running times.
Yeah,
but...
my fault. My bad, John.
All right. With all that being said, we're back, right? We're here. And thank you for making some time to come and chat with us. You're a busy man, traveling, training, glorifying God and all the things that we truly love to see from anybody, especially coming from you. So, I wanted to give you some time to introduce yourself, right? Who are you? Who should people know you as? What do you want them to, when they hear of Edose, right? What comes behind that?
Yeah. So hi everybody. My name is Edose Ibadin. First and foremost, I'm a man of faith.
Amen.
I'm a believer. I love all things faith related. I also really love track and field. That's a sport that I do on a professional level. And another thing that I really love too is just mindset, right? What gets people going?
Yeah.
How people's mental health, right? Because a lot of times the way people feel on the inside is going to show up on the outside. So that's something that I'm really passionate about as well. Another thing I want y'all to know about me is I'm someone who typically has an optimistic attitude about things and just in my approach to life. I'm a not yet kind of guy. I'm not going to say I can't do this, but for me, it's like, I just haven't done that yet. And so I'm going to figure out a way to do that. And another thing too is just, I really am someone who enjoys the process of things.
Yeah.
So I don't give up easily.
Yeah. I like the I'm a not yet type of guy. We was in the gym. Me and Kendall was in the gym together last week, and I was going through his workout, and we was doing pull-ups, and I was struggling, and I was kind of just telling him how I'm not gonna I'd be ducking pull-ups in the gym. I'll go through the whole workout, pull-ups at the end of the workout, she's not gonna see me, But he was kind of just emphasizing and pushing me just do it, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's 5, whether it's whatever, you're trying to hit 10 and you kind of do 3, 3, 4, whatever the split is, just do it, right? And at some point you're going to be able to do it. So I really resonate with the not yet. And with that being said, I'm gonna kick it back to Kendall. We're gonna play a game real quick, and I'll let him introduce us to the game.
All right, guys. So this game is called 10-second take. I have 10 track hot takes for you. Okay. You have 10 seconds to answer each hot take.
Okay.
So the first one we have is that the 200 meter is harder than the 400 meter.
No.
I no. Nah. Negative.
All right. The next one we have is U.S. track and field needs a Netflix series.
Kind of like the starting 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that. They have there's a documentary called Sprint that I think did pretty well. But I think they can do something with the USA track and field for sure. I agree with that.
Okay, my third one is that World Athletics doesn't market stars well enough.
I agree with that too.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Okay, relay events are more exciting than individual events.
Depends on the relay, but yeah.
Okay. I would say individual, just because it's one thing to see a team come back and just have an OC 4th leg and that be what carries them back to the finish line. But it's another thing to see somebody come back from a deficit himself or herself. I think that aspect of individuality, low key, I think the individual for me.
Okay. I'm forgetting that I have 2 Trey, you former track too. I'm the only one. But that brings me to my fifth one. The Diamond League is boring unless it's a world record.
No, I disagree with that. Diamond Leagues are exciting.
Okay. False start rules should be more forgiving.
No, I don't think so. Because I know before they used to have like the 2 false start rule, but some people, they use that to their advantage and try to like false start on purpose because they know they're going to be able to go again. And yeah, some people just do it on purpose to throw people off. I think one and done is good. React, don't anticipate. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that also speaks to how much you train your starts.
Exactly.
And how much you're really trying to perfect your craft. And with it being like you have one shot, I think that's also what builds up that type of anticipation with track.
Exactly.
Like I literally have, if I'm running a 400, I got 50 seconds, right? On a professional level, max, in front of me. So this 50 seconds, it's the kind of the defining moment of my day, but everything else leads up to that. So like I think like knowing that you have one shot and so much limited time to kind of put out such a great performance adds to the mental psyche of track.
Okay. And our next one is that college track is tougher than pro track.
I want to say it's tougher. I think it's more supported than pro track. That's my take. It's not even a hot take. I think a lot of people would say the same. Like, there's way more support at the collegiate level than the professional level for sure.
All right. My next one is that track is more mentally demanding than physically.
I can see. Yeah. It is physically demanding, but
yes. The physical aspect, I think like being in shape in track is one of the best shapes that you can be in all of athletics. I stand on that. But I also think that like with track, that physical component would do something.
Brutal,
the mental. My fault. The mental component would do something to you. Like, can I push past this? Like, you think that you don't got enough in the tank. Like, how much are you pushing to get there? So yeah,
for sure.
Okay. My next one is lane 8 is underrated.
I agree with that.
I agree with that too.
I agree with that.
Yeah, lane 8 not that bad. It's lane 1 where it's
lane 1 is kind of sketchy. Lane 8 though,
yeah, lane 8 not that bad.
Yeah.
The world record was broken in lane 8 in the 400. So
yeah.
My next one is Nike spikes are overrated.
I agree.
I was an Under Armour spike guy. So, I
have to wear
he's an Under Armour guy too.
Yeah, I have to wear Under Armour spikes.
He's a real Under Armour guy. My bad.
Granted, I used to wear Nike spikes growing up, but I've been wearing Under Armour spikes since 2019 now. So,
all right, and that ends my questions. Ends our question.
I want to revisit question number 1. Was
it was the 200 meter is harder than the 400 meter.
I want to propose a revision to that. Is the 400 meter hurdle harder than the 800 meter?
What's funny is that's an ongoing
debate. Yes.
Granted, I'm not a 400 hurdler. One of my teammates actually has done both. He was an All-American in the 400 hurdles, and then he kind of made the transition to the 800 more so. And he thinks the 800 is a little harder. And the reason why I personally think the 800 is harder is just because you're not in your own lane. The 400 hurdles, you still have your own lane essentially, and so you're not running. I think there's a lot more to think about in the 800 than the 400 hurdles. And the reason what makes the 800 so challenging is because you're running at a fast pace. 1, 2, you're running next to people like it's a distance race.
Yeah.
And 3, it just like the pace that we go at. It hurt. Like our first lap is sometimes in 50 seconds at 400.
Yeah,
so like
that's a fast pace.
Yeah, so like, and imagine doing that with somebody in front of you or people behind you who can kick really strong. Like it's so many layers to it. And granted, don't get me wrong, 400 hurdles is extremely hard because I can't imagine running a 400 and having to hurdle over 10 barriers either. But I think what makes the 800 harder than the 400 hurdles is just a simple fact that you're running against people, you're not in your own lane. So people can trip and fall and just mess you up.
Yeah.
People can slow the pace down. Like, I just think there's so much more to think about. I feel like the 400 hurdles is a rhythm race. And so you know your rhythm and you just go. right? You count your steps and you go. But the 800 is, is this race going to go out fast? Is it going to go out slow?
Yeah.
When do I kick? Let me not get boxed in. I just think there's so much more factors to it.
Yeah.
Opinion.
You know, I was a hurdler.
Mm-hmm.
So I never raced the 800 meters, so I can't like speak to that. I would just say like for my biggest thing with the 400 meter hurdles was staying in that rhythm. Right? Like it is a rhythm race, but like if you're like you being half a step behind, now you have to overextend when you're hurdling, right? And like just little things. So yeah, I think I wanted your take. I don't really have an answer. I'm of course pick 400 meter hurdles because that's what I did. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and getting straight into the pod track, right? When did that become your thing?
Yeah, so I started running in 10th grade, which was back in 2009. I just did it as something to do. I didn't really think too much of it.
Yeah.
Let me be a better, well-rounded student, because I know it looks good on college applications when you do multiple things instead of just going to school and going home. And I deemed myself pretty athletic growing up. I played soccer a lot, and so I was like, let me just try track.
So you was kind of used to the distance almost.
Not really, no. Not really, because soccer we ran a little bit, but it wasn't nowhere near compared to like
distance.
Track. But yeah, I just did track just because, and I didn't think too much of it. I was just let me just do this as an activity and just.
Yeah. For one, like I commend you for thinking forward that much in 7th grade. Like, oh, it's gonna look good on my college applications. I'm gonna lock in with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that I commend you for that. And when you started, like, what was that first moment that you was like, I might like this?
Yeah. So I remember my first practice. It was hard, but I was like, I'm gonna come back tomorrow. And I remember my coach. Yeah, shout out to my first coach, Coach O'Neill. He really encouraged me a lot that first year. He was only my coach for that year, but he really told me that like he liked the way I ran. He think I could be a good runner. I just needed to get in shape. Mind you, he said this to me as I was walking during one of the workouts, because this is like my second day of practice.
So everyone was still going, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm tired."
Yeah, I was really trying, but like
so
it was
real.
just we was doing this thing called an Indian run. So basically, everyone runs in a line, and then the person who's in the back kind of sprints up to the front, and he kind of just go from there. But me being super out of shape, I couldn't keep up with other guys because the other guys have been running for a while. So he knew it was like my first or second day out there. So I just couldn't keep up no more.
Yeah.
And so he pulled me aside. He was like, "Yeah, I think you're a good runner. I like the way you run. You just gotta get in shape." So I was like, "Okay, let me stick with it." And I think him saying that to me versus like cussing me out or something like, "You need to be running that."
Yeah.
It really encouraged me to like keep it going. So it's like, if he thinks I can be good, maybe there's something to that.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what kept me going. And like just throughout that season, he used to tell everybody, "That's my state champ right there. That's my state champ." And like I just didn't think much of it because I'm like, "Oh, you just biased because you coached me."
Yeah.
But he definitely saw something in me that I didn't necessarily
see in yourself. Yeah.
And he really had that belief. He almost believed the greatness in me for me at that time because I didn't see it for myself. And it just took me, maybe a year or two after
to see it
for myself.
Yeah. Tying this back into a conversation that was having pre-pod, we're talking about love, right? And like, I can see him exemplifying God's love, like, to you, right? Like, just the fact that he was like like he could have met you in so many different ways and manners, but he met you in a way that helped you feel better. And like that kind of promoted you, and like it clearly meant something for you to remember it for one, but for you to be here for two.
It's true.
So shout out to Coach O'Neill for all of his good work. So you went through 3 years of running track, made states.
Made states my second and third year.
How was that feeling?
It was good. So I remember my first year, I didn't make it. And I was kind of like, dang, well, I was just like, whatever. It's my first year running track, cool. And then my second year, I didn't make it that indoor. And I was just like, dang, bro, I feel like I should have made it.
Yeah.
And so that outdoor, I was like, bro, I'm not getting
You was hungry.
no more. Yeah, I was super hungry. I was like, yeah, y'all not touching me. And then I remember I was just slowly getting better and better. And then I remember I won my county title in the 800.
Do you remember your time?
I ran 156.
Okay.
And that was like a really big deal.
Yeah.
Like, dang, bro, who is this guy from Duval who just ran
sub
156?
2?
Yeah, it was like, what? It was
Who's
a shock
running
to
sub 2? Like,
it was a shock
what?
to a lot of people. And so regionals came because regionals is how we qualify for state. And I was like, all right, I did it again. But the only thing was there was this guy who was better than me from Roosevelt who didn't run at the county championship, but he ran at the regional and he beat me there. But I got second. So I was like, you know what? I'm in states, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
And I made states in a 400 as well too. So that was really cool to like go from not making states to making states in two events. And unfortunately, the state meet I got sick, so I didn't run as well as I would like to. Granted, it wasn't like horrible, but I think
you had standards that you wish you would have hit, but
yeah, so like I didn't run horrible, but at the same time it was like because I ran into states with PRs of 49 and 156. And I ran 50 point and 158, so it wasn't terrible, but it was just like whatever. So then going into my senior year, I was like, yo, I'm winning this joint. I don't care what nobody say. Like I'm like the hunger was there for sure, and I think at that point my senior, that's when I was like, okay, I think I also want to run at the collegiate level as well. Because before that, I didn't want to run in college at all. I thought it was going to be too hard. But then senior year came, I won states indoors in the 500 and the 800. And then we also won as a team that year too. And then outdoor, I won states in the 800. And then we got second place as a team. So it was really cool to like win states, but then also remember like my first coach would always say, that's my state champ, that's my state champ. So like for him to speak it
and then
2 years ago when I was running like doo-doo to then now, you know, or to then like 2 years later to actually winning it and dominating in the state was really cool to see. And so I remember like we used to talk all the time, even though he wasn't my coach anymore. And I used to tell him like, yo, like I'm gonna win. He's like, you got it. And then when I remember being super excited to tell him that I had won state. So it was so cool.
And throughout this process, right, what was your journey like with faith?
Yeah, so I got saved my 11th grade year. So this is my second year running track. I got saved. So my first year, I was kind of just, living, doing. I wasn't like a wild child, but I was definitely like,
he was just,
typical teenage things. Nothing crazy. But then when I got saved, it was like, all right, I have this other component here. I didn't necessarily give up track because I know some people like, oh, stuff can be an idol. And this is why you got to be real careful too, because I know a lot of people at the time was like telling me, some things you're about to give up and da-da-da-da. And I didn't want track to be one of those things that I gave up because I didn't feel convicted to give up track. And so luckily for me, what helped was that track gave me something to consistently pray for. Like aside from like, God, help me get a 4.0, it was like, God, like help me, do well in track. And I think
that's
track
real.
has really influenced my prayer life. And I think that's why I pray so much now, just because of how much I had to pray, like getting me through workouts, getting me through races, praying over my goals, doing all the kinds of things. And I think just that faith component definitely helped a lot with my track journey for sure.
Yeah, like I was talking to some friends and we were just kind of talking about like the concept of faith and business, right? Like I've kind of seen God like pulling me out of who I used to be through like whether it's Curb or Toonie or whatever the case may be, and kind of like just showing me like this is how good it can get, and it can get so much better, right? And I was talking to like, I don't want to call him a mentee, but one of like my younger friends, and he was asking me like, yo, like you're about to go move to New York and start a job at this big tech company, and like how did it happen? I told him like there's nothing I can help you with if I don't start this by saying I prayed. And I bring it up because the reason why I asked you about your faith throughout this journey was somebody's gonna look at this and see the state championships and the awakening of an Olympian, right? But on the other hand of that, like he prayed, and that's a pivotal part of the story, So you win these state championships, you're getting like looked at by colleges, right? What is that process like for you in terms of getting looked at by colleges, wanting to go collegiate, also being like it might be too much work? Yeah. What's that like? What? Talk to me about that part of the journey.
Yeah, for sure. So when I first started track, I had zero intentions of running in college. Like I don't know what I was thinking, but I thought like if you get an athletic scholarship, then you didn't have to do the sport. They just gave you a scholarship
because he was athletic.
Yeah, it was crazy. And so I remember having the conversation with my older brother, and he was like, "No, you still have to like do it. And
you just have to do the sport."
And so running track, I didn't think about running track in college until there was a dude who got a scholarship to Howard the year before.
From Duval?
No, not from Duval, but he went to a different school, but our PRs were identical. And so I was like, oh, snap. Like, if he can get a scholarship,
I can too.
I can too.
Yeah.
And so I remember, I think I got a letter from Howard, like, the end of my 11th grade year. And I was just like, oh, snap. Like, I'm getting a letter from a college. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Granted, it was, those who know, when you know how the recruiting process goes, like, sometimes you get this, like, generic letter and they tell you, like, to fill out this questionnaire. Them drinks don't mean nothing, but to me, it was like, oh, snap, I'm getting looked at. Oh, this is so cool.
But, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think we look and get numb to things.
It's true.
I think, like, that questionnaire, I know me 10th, 11th grade, how I would have got that joy, I would have been geeked. Like, I got looked at by, like, D3 schools. And even that made me feel like I was actually an athlete. Like, the fact that I was being recruited. So, like, you know, like, I just want to say that for the athletes that you might not be reaching the goals that you set out for yourself, but you're at least still doing something. So
that's true. That's
yeah.
true. And I just remember going into my senior year, I started emailing coaches myself just because it's like, all right, let me see what schools I actually want to go to and that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And a lot of coaches actually did respond. Some of them were just like, yeah, there's not much we can do for you. Gotta get faster. And there's other coaches who were like, hey, let's see what you do this season, and we can see, where we can go. Yeah. And so I remember going through that indoor season with just that hunger and ambition, like, I gotta get it. Like, I gotta, get some type of scholarship here and there. And I remember after I won states, so I was talking to George Mason a lot. They're in Northern Virginia. And after this coach actually came down to the state meet to watch me run. And I remember thinking like, dang, he's actually coming to like see me run. Like, luckily I did my thing, so it was cool. But then after that, he was like, yeah, you did your thing, you did a good job. Like, let's get you down for a visit. And I was just like, oh snap, like
this is real.
This is real. Like, what the heck?
This is real.
And went down to the visit and everything. Unfortunately, they said they couldn't give me anything at the time because I need to get my SAT scores and stuff up and stuff like that.
That's real.
But I just took that as like, dang, I actually took a visit. This is really cool. And then I remember I went to New Balance Nationals that indoor season as well. And then that's when Temple and Maryland, I ran into Temple and Maryland coaches, and they were like talking to me. They said, yeah, we saw what you did at the state meet. That was really impressive. Like, let's see what we can do. And I was just like, dang, I'm actually getting like recruited. Like, this is crazy. Like, what the heck? I was just like, dang. But this is crazy. So it's actually the grace of God that I didn't go to either of those schools because both of those teams actually ended up losing their track teams. Maryland kind of got theirs back, but at the time when I was in school, they didn't really have a program, unfortunately. And then Temple ended up losing their program like my senior year. And then after the visit to Mason, I remember, I'll never forget this. I was in AP calculus class, and then my coach sends me a
He's
text.
smart, y'all.
And, oh yeah, I was a little smart in high school for sure, too.
Because I don't know if y'all peeped early, he said, track gave him something to pray for as long as praying for them 4.0s. So.
Yeah, I didn't even get 4.0s at that high school, though, but I got a lot of 3.5s, between like 3.5s and 3.7, between like a 3.3 and a 3.7. That was like a lot of my GPAs were. But I remember sitting in class, I got a text from my coach, and she was like, yeah, the Hampton coach wants to give you a full scholarship. What you think? I'm about to drop my phone. I was like,
what do I think?
I said, wait a minute. So I went, because she was a gym teacher. So I went to her office like after the class, and I was just like, are you serious right now? Like, what? And we had to track me that day. So there was just a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what? Like, what do I do? Like, what the heck? And then the Hampton coach called me that day I was racing, so I couldn't answer the phone right away. But he left a voicemail and stuff like that, and he was just telling me. I think I called him like the next day.
Yeah.
And he was just telling me like, yeah, like, you know, I've heard good things about you. And it's weird because like, the coach at the time, he didn't actively like recruit because he was an older guy, but he recruited more so based off of like word of mouth.
Yeah.
So he said someone like told him about me, and so he saw my stats and was interested and saw what I was able to do. And honestly, like looking back, he really recruited me off of potential essentially because the times I was running at that time, like granted I was winning states and stuff like that, but they weren't like full scholarship worthy fast just yet.
And quick pointer, this literally goes back to faith that works is dead.
It's true.
Because what is he saying right now? He's saying that, yeah, I was running times, I was getting accolades, but was I really worthy, right? The answer could very well be no. But the other part of that answer is that with God, you don't have to be.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying? True. So I just wanted to point that out, but I'm listening.
It's true. No, for sure. And I remember him saying like, you know, who we want is you. And I just felt like so wanted at that school. And I was just like, dang. And he was like, yeah, I got full scholarship here waiting for you. I was just like, oh my, like, what do I do? It's like so there's a thing called the National Letter of Intent, and you sign that to like sign your scholarship. Man freaking overnighted that joint. Like, that's how bad he wanted me to sign the joint. And I remember, the thing is, when you get it, you only get 2 weeks to do it. And so I'm like, I didn't even get to visit the school yet. So I'm just like, wait, what do I do here? Like, I'm keeping options open too. So I'm like, wait.
What other schools were you considering at that time?
So I still was like, I was about to like try to retake my SAT and everything for George Mason. Okay. And then I know Morgan State was interested as well.
Yeah.
I kind of stopped talking with Temple in Maryland at the time. But those is probably like the three main schools, but Hampton was the only one that really like put something on paper to try to make things official. And I remember praying about it, talking to my parents, and they were just like, yeah, maybe this is where God wants you to go. And I was like, you know, we just gonna sign the joint. Let's just see. And at this point, and on top of that too, it's May of my senior year. So it's like, time is ticking. A lot of schools already like gave out their scholarships and stuff like that. So for me, it's like, you know,
You said I gotta go somewhere.
Yeah, I gotta go somewhere. Like, it's May. Like, we probably got like 2 weeks of school left. I was like, let me just sign this joint. And I did, and it was really a leap of faith because I didn't visit the school. The school didn't really have a history of 800-meter running, but for me, it was like track wasn't really like, I was more academics first, then track when it came to college.
Okay,
track was just a way for
a catalyst almost, or an incentive.
Exactly, to just help pay for that. To help fund the education. So I was like, look, I can go here for free. They got my major that I want to study. I can get to run track. Like, it is what it is. Let me just sign it and go. And it was a gamble because, number one, I didn't visit the school. The 800-meter history of the school wasn't that great. And I was just like, you know, we just gonna go to work. And that's exactly what I did. But when I got to Hampton, it was a whole transition that I wasn't really ready for. But I think nothing would have prepared me for that transition until I had to walk through the fire, like, to get through it. Yeah, there was no like, 'cause, you know, some people are, oh, school didn't really prepare me for college. And I felt academically ready for college, but life and just balancing athletics with that, I don't think I was personally ready for. And it's nothing against like my coaches or anything like that. There was nothing they could have done. It was just the level of discipline that I needed to have in college was just next level, and it was quickly next level. Like, waking up at 6 a.m. to go to practice, to run, or to lift, and like, I wasn't doing that in high school. Or to balance like having your friends live next door to you. Like, nothing you can do to really prepare for that. Like, you just have to do it and just know how to manage it. This is where like a solid foundation comes in, just knowing like how to actually manage your time well. Because if you don't know how to manage it well, you're gonna crumble under that pressure.
So I know you mentioned, we kind of segue into it, which is perfect. This is a question that I had. I know for me, going from high school to college, it was such a transition for me. Just, you know, college is more so learning every day. You're learning something new every day, you know, way different from high school. But what would you say to people that are transitioning into college, how to maintain that balance? You know, I know a lot of student athletes deal with like fatigue of being a student athlete. So what is some advice that you would give like to those people trying to maintain that balance between the two?
For sure, that's a good question. I think one big piece of advice I would give is learning how to be where your feet are, right? And that means being fully present. In Matthew 6:34, it talks about how each day has enough trouble of its own.
Yeah.
So really just worry about today.
And don't worry.
And don't worry about tomorrow. And I find that very true in learning how to balance everything. Is just focus on what's in front of you. This is something I tell student athletes all the time. Learn to focus on what's in front of you. When you're in the classroom, be fully in the classroom. When you're on the track or the field or the court, be fully there, be fully attentive. Or even when you're hanging out with your friends, be fully there, you know, be fully there with them. I think that helps. That helped me manage my time extremely well in college. And it took me a while to get to that point, but like really learning to like focus on wherever is in front of me, essentially, like how I'm here in this podcast, like being fully attentive, fully engaged. And so when you're in the classroom, be fully in the classroom. When it's time to study, be studying, don't be distracted. And it's harder now too, so like don't be distracted on your phone, don't be, you know, doing all kinds of things, but really focus on what's right in front of you. And just be patient with yourself too, because it is a transition. And like for me, my first year, my grades, I've never seen a GPA that low in my life. And I was just like, bruh, what is going on here? But just learning how to be patient with yourself and at the same time learning to focus on
how to work. Yeah. So where are your feet now?
My feet are here in this room.
Great response. Great response. In terms of your track career, in terms of like track career and faith, like where are your feet? Like,
yeah, in terms of my track career and faith, currently I'm in recovery mode because today is an easy day.
Okay.
I just did a run this morning before church, and
how many miles?
it was like a little under 7.5. So it was about like 7.25 or something.
Okay, and what time?
I did it in like 48 minutes, so I was probably like 6:45 pace. I was about to say that crazy, but I know that sounds.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want to follow this up with my running times.
Yeah, my fault. My bad, y'all. I don't know if you listen to this, whatever pace you go is good. Don't mind me.
Okay, but mind you, said this is an easy day. So easy pace. So you ran before church, and then.
Oh yeah, then just physically gonna do some recovery stuff after when I get home, and just go from there to get ready for practice tomorrow. Like I said, I'm kind of knee deep in training and racing season right now, so we're gonna do a big training stint, and then I'll probably race again next month or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're running your club's out of Baltimore, right? And not only that, but you've also raced for Nigeria.
Yes, sir.
Right. What would you say is like the biggest difference between your training with your club versus training with Nigeria as the country, and what are some synergies that they might have?
Yeah, so there's not that many synergies. So most of my training is done with my club.
Okay.
But typically there'll be times where, like when I do represent Nigeria, where I still might have to do workouts on my. Unfortunately, Nigeria doesn't have a lot of 800-meter runners. I'm really the only one. And so a lot of times when we're at these big championships, like world championships or the Olympics or like African championships, usually I'm kind of solo dolo. Okay. I'm just kind of doing workouts that my coach from back home gives me.
Yeah.
So there's not really like, it's not that different, but it's just, I have to do these workouts by myself. Also, usually when I'm with Nigeria, it's for a competition. So we're not really on the gas like we would be back home.
Yeah.
Like that. But back home here, that's where like the bulk of like the hard training is and stuff like that. So there's not really that much. It's not that much difference. Yeah.
Being the only runner for Nigeria, that must that must be a heavy weight to carry, but also feel like a blessing. Like
It is, yeah. I think it's definitely more so a blessing than a heavy weight to carry.
I love that.
And I think because one, it shows Nigerians that we can run fast in the 800. Nigeria has a rich history in sprinting,
Okay.
and a lot of Nigerian runners are sprinters or they're jumpers. And so for me to have made the Olympic team in the 800, that was a really big deal. I think there might have been only one person before me in the history of Nigeria
To do that.
to do the 800. And so, and that was in like the 1988 Olympics. So it took like 35 years,
For
36
yeah.
years for someone else to come along to run the 800. And I'm hoping that it doesn't take
Another 36 years
for the next person.
Yeah.
But yeah, I take a lot of pride in it because it shows, okay, like, even if I am a Nigerian 800 meter runner, I still have a chance to be world class. Like, I don't have to just, because I'm an 800 runner, then I can never make the national team, or I can never do this. But it's like, no, you see this guy here running, world class times, or running, Olympic qualifying times and stuff like that in the 800 who's Nigerian. And it, because a lot of times some of them think like, we can only make it in sprinting. And if I'm not a sprinter, then
I'm kind of out of luck.
Yeah, exactly. And granted, there's definitely a lot more education that needs to happen over there about middle distance running. But I do believe that there are Nigerians out there who can run really fast 800s. But they just need the knowledge, and sometimes even their coaches need the knowledge too. And just even that belief to be able to say, I can do this, right? Like when I first started running, I didn't think like, because I'm Nigerian, then I can't run a fast 800. For me, I've always been an 800 meter runner, so it was just like, I'm just gonna run as fast as I can.
Yeah. Wow, that's major. That I don't know, like that's such a crazy thing for me to like wrap my head around, like you being the first in 36 years.
Yeah,
like,
crazy.
like, you know what I'm saying? It's like that also adds a level of like severity, to you and to what you've done. And like, for one, we can only thank God for that. But let's talk about some of your experiences at these world-class events, right? These world-class races. Between like world championships, between African championships, between Olympics, what would you say has been your favorite experience so far?
Favorite experience? Dang, it's a mixture. I think my favorite experience would have to probably be, I think, Olympics and like, because I went to African Games as well. And so the difference between like the Olympics and like African Games versus like World Championships or African Championships is that at Games, it's not just track and field, it's multiple sports. And so it's just, you're around so many, like at Games, you're in a big village essentially where it's like a
plethora of athletes.
Just many different athletes coming together to, for a common goal.
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely a lot more distracting at these games. And it's it definitely can feel a lot longer too. I feel like you're there longer as well. But at World Championships, it's just track, or at African Championships, it's just track.
Yeah.
And so that's cool too, right? And I think the intensity is still the same regardless of which one it might be. Like the competition is super intense. Like, man, people be coming with it. Like people really come with it when it comes to these championships.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you might be fast, but so is everybody else.
Yeah.
Or some of them are even faster. And you're just like, dang, like, how can I put myself in the best position to possibly succeed at this point in time? And no, but these championships are definitely a lot of fun. And yeah, you just got to come. Like, you got to be on your A game. Like, there's very little room for error unless you just got it like that. There's very little room for error. And like, you really got to take care of your body to the most degree. At African Championships last year, I made the final in the 800, and my hamstring was bugging. I was just like, bro, this joint hurt. Like, I never felt that kind of pain right before the start line. I was just like, I don't know how I'm about to do this, but yeah, you got to come with it. And I think it's at that level, at that world-class level, like the way people are able to shift gears, the way people are able to make certain moves, the way some people are even able to get out, like it's different. You really got to be prepared for all that.
Yeah.
Stuff. But I think my favorite was probably the Olympics. I had a lot of fun, but I also have had a lot of fun in like different world championships and stuff like that too.
I think a lot of times like we think of Olympics and that's kind of like the pinnacle of sports.
For sure.
You know, and like you had said something like being like like at a world class level, and I think like I really like how that sounds. Like this is world class. You know, like you are racing against the best in the world. So like for the majority of viewers here, you know, we won't be able to experience the Olympics and the glories that it holds, but give us a little insight, you know, on like your experience. How it's like at the village racing, like prepping for the meets and like even being in a stadium like that. All these people cheering, chanting, and you know.
Yeah, that joint was crazy. Oh my gosh, that joint was crazy. Like, I'll never forget when I first stepped foot in the village. I was just like, dang, I'm actually there was so many more. I feel like every day I was there, it was just like I'm
actually here.
Like, I'm seeing
like is this real?
Like, what is going on here? Like, it was, and then like seeing celebrities too. Like I said, I met Serena Williams. I seen Coco Gauff. I seen Pau Gasol. It was so many. I seen RG3. Like he was up there too, just randomly. And so I just seen so many athletes and like famous athletes and stuff like that. And they all just felt like regular people. Were all there to just compete, or like maybe not Serena Williams and them. They were just there, but like we're all there to just compete, right?
Yeah.
And even like I remember opening ceremony, right? It looks cool on TV, but man, that process of like doing all of that is so long. Like if I make LA and opening ceremony is a thing, I don't know if I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna lie. The reason why is because like if I was close, luckily for me, I competed towards the end of the Olympics. So like, I had a lot of time in between opening ceremony and competition. Yeah. But if my competition was close, like if because some people opening ceremony, they had to compete the next day. I wouldn't have done it because like if I had to compete the next day, I'm not doing it. Because
y'all had to bust down and get on a boat and stuff, right?
Yeah, it was just a lot. So like we probably started gathering up at like 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I didn't
AM or PM?
Oh, PM.
Okay.
Yeah. But I didn't get back to like my room until a little after midnight. So like it was a really long process. It was a lot of, don't get me wrong, it was so much fun. I'm definitely glad I got to do it.
Yeah.
But it was just a really long process. I remember talking to other people, and some people say like, like one of my Australian friends, he was like, yeah, he don't do it just because it's a lot. Yeah. Granted, this was his third Olympics, but he said, he doesn't do opening ceremony just because like it's a lot. But the food there, unfortunately, was not that great. But my expectations about food was pretty low anyway when it comes to these world-class championships. Yeah. Because they're feeding so many people.
Yeah.
So there's only
how
so
good
much
can it get?
Yeah, exactly. Like how good can it actually get? But I will say there's definitely a lot of resources and things that help the athletes out. Like they give out like free ice cream, free drinks. There was a lot of free stuff, free massages, free ice bath. There was so many like. There was a joint. They even had like dental appointments out there. Like, there was so many free stuff, bro. It was crazy. It was so many just like free stuff, and free resources.
Go get your teeth checked real quick.
Nah, for real.
Like, what do you really need that?
Exactly. I was because they called the polyclinic, and I went there. I'm like, I'm just trying to get a massage. I was like, oh yeah. I said, what y'all got here? They said, yeah, we got dental work. And I was like, dental work.
Veneers at the Olympics.
Yeah, like what am I doing here?
Teeth whitening, bro. You know, they want to be okay.
Exactly. But what else? Yeah, it was end of the day, a competition, man. It was great. Like I got to get to see like other sports as well when I was out there. I got to watch gymnastics, swimming, and beach volleyball. Those are the 3 I got to watch for free, and those were a lot of fun to view. And then track, like I knew. Because track was towards the end, right? So that they usually do like some sports one half, and then another set of sports the second half. Track that year was on the second half of it. So I got to like watch some other sports beforehand, and I remember seeing how packed those stadiums were for those other sports.
And it kind of gave you a visualization of what I was walking into.
Exactly, because I knew all right, if swimming is this packed, if beach volleyball is packed, track is one of the more popular sports. So I already knew like track about to go crazy. Yeah. And so I remember, like I said, my 800 was on the second half of track. So I got to watch some of the earlier races, like in the first few days of track. and that stadium was packed out every single day. Like it was crazy, especially if you were a French athlete. Yeah, they was going crazy for you.
Yeah.
Like it didn't matter how good or bad you did.
The fact
they
that you're
were
just wearing the country colors.
Yeah, they were screaming for you. And I just remember like, yeah, and then I remember day of competition, like they do this thing called the call room. And this is at every major championship. So basically you have to almost warm up a lot earlier than you normally do because they're gonna hold you in this room for a little, because it's a major championship. They gotta be like super organized with it.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in that car and just like, dang, this joint is intense. Like you can just feel the energy, and everyone's warmed up, ready to go. Everybody doing like their last minute skips and plays.
Yeah.
Like it just you can feel the intensity. So I'm just like, bro, like how do I maintain my nerves in this situation? How am I able to, all the work has been done at this point, but it's like, how can I contain myself in this little room essentially?
Yeah.
And so I remember going out there. I had a French guy in my heat too. So as soon as they called his name, the whole crowd went crazy. And I just remember coming out the tunnel and then just seeing a lot of people. And I'm like, dang, this joint, we're actually here. Like, this is the Olympics. Like, this is like, I've been visualizing this for a long time and dreaming about this. And then to actually be on the track in the stadium, like getting ready to compete.
Oh
I was
my
like,
goodness, bro.
This joint crazy. And yeah, it was intense though, man. That competition was super intense.
What does 10th grade Edose like? What would 10th grade Edose? What would he feel? How would he feel right now? Like
I say
to walk out at the Olympics, bro. Like what would him starting this track career being like? I don't want to go college for this. For like, I just want something for my applications.
Nah, for real, nah, exactly.
Like,
I think he would be geeked, and I think this is something I think about all the time. Like, I wish there was a way, like, some shows, people from the future come back to like their younger self and just, like, talk to them. I really wish I could do that, because the way I would do that in a heartbeat is just talk to my younger self, my 16, 17-year-old self, and say, like, look, this is the times you're going around, and this is all the things you're going to do. And I can just imagine myself getting really wide-eyed.
Like, is this
what?
real?
Like, you signed with what? Like, huh? Like,
sponsored athlete?
Yeah,
like, mind you.
Like, I can just imagine he'd be geeked for sure. Super excited.
Wow. What's something that you would say to future you, right? Like, based off of, right, you feeling how, you knowing how younger you would feel, seeing that all you accomplished, right? And of course, like, God says that he gives the desire of our hearts, but also that he does more than we can ask, think, you know what I'm saying, or even imagine, right? Mm-hmm. So you knowing how young you would feel being you today, mm-hmm. What's a healthy, godly projection that you can put out that's like you in a couple years? Like, what's the expectation that you have?
Man, that's loaded. I think if I could say something to my future self, it's just, I don't know, I feel like at this point, it's like you can do anything, right? Amen. And anything is possible. Like, going to the Olympics is hard. Yeah. And it's harder than a lot of things in life. And so just knowing that, like, if I've been able to do this, there's almost nothing I can't do if I put my mind to it. And so I think that's just how I'm carrying myself. And I think that's how future me would probably carry himself too.
Yeah. Yeah, I want you to, a couple years, come back, look at this clip. You know what I'm saying? See how it resonates with you. Going back to the Olympics, were the beds really that bad?
Yeah, they were bad. So it wasn't the cardboard that was bad. It was the mattress that was bad. The mattress was so hard. And for some reason, they didn't put ACs in the room. They said they wanted to do like some environmentally friendly type of deal. And so there were some countries that they bought like AC units for their rooms, but them drinks was like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and Nigeria was not about to do that.
Yeah.
Exactly. So like, they weren't about to do that. And we just had little fans, but unfortunately the fan in my room actually broke. And so It was one night, it was so hot in that room. I was just like, bro, this thing is so hot. Like, but for me, if the beds were softer, I would have been straight. But
it was like heat, humidity plus hard bed. Like,
well, thankfully it wasn't humid out there, but it was just heat and then a hard bed. I was just like, bro, this joint. I mean, granted, I was still able to get good sleep, but Yeah, that bad. Some of the mattresses, and they had a thing where like they scanned your body to see like which mattress. Because there was like 3 mattresses on them. So it was like mattress here, mattress here, mattress here. And they have like different sides to it. It had like different types, like softness and firmness. But even the softest setting wasn't really that soft.
Yeah.
I was like, bruh. So this is probably the optimal
mattress setting for you.
And I think it was like either the default setting or I had to change like one small thing.
Yeah.
And still, I was like, this bed is still kind of, it's not that great, but I'll manage. I'll make it work. But yeah, the cardboard wasn't that bad though. But it was really the mattresses that were really like hard.
And how many days or weeks were you out there for?
I was probably out there for like 2.5 weeks. I was out there for a little grip. I was there. Yeah, I was there from like, I think got there like July 25th, and then left August 11th. So I was there for a little while. I was there for like 2.5 weeks. And
what was communication like with like your friends, your family, like while you was there? Like, was it like I'm kind of super locked in, I'm respond like maybe once or twice off the day, or was it like you still had like a good amount of time for communication? What did that look like?
Communication was minimal. I'm not even going to like it was so like it was so, a lot in general to the point where like I can't even fully respond. Number one, I didn't have service like that because obviously we're in another country.
Yeah,
and then 2, it was just I would send a quick text to like my parents to just let them know how I am, and then like so I had family who my sister and some of my friends came out. Also, my fiance came out too. She was my girlfriend at the time, but some of them came out like towards the end when I was about to race.
Yeah,
but even them, like it was very hard to like communicate. Like I would try to post because some people like, yeah, show us everything. And so I was like, yeah, I got you. I'll do what I can. But even then, like anytime I posted something, I would get so many like DMs because it was just the Olympics. So it was just I was like, yeah, I can't respond to everybody. Bro.
Yeah, that's real.
It was definitely like I'll get to y'all when I can.
Yeah.
And then 2, like I said, there's so many people out there. So like it's so hard to communicate with. For me, it's hard to like communicate with people when people are in front of me.
Yeah, going back to being where your feet are at.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's something that's very hard for me to do. So like be actively texting somebody when someone's talking to you.
Yeah.
I think it's rude to like
be on your phone. Yeah, that's real.
In front of you, especially when they're having a conversation, and then you having a conversation. It's one thing if you're like checking your phone for something to show somebody, but like if you're texting somebody in conversation and they're talking to you, I don't like doing that just because like you said, it helps me not be where my feet are. And I think learning to be where your feet are, learning to be present is a skill that I've learned to really hone and adapt, and it's something I still want to continue to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just so much going on. Like even like when you're in the dining hall and stuff like that, so many athletes, so many people, and I knew a good amount of people, whether it was Team Nigeria, I knew people on Team USA, people on just different pockets and different teams. So like. Yeah, there were just so many people.
It was enough social. Like you had.
Exactly. There was always something socially that was going on. Like all the time. Like you barely by yourself for real because you have a roommate. We were in, luckily in my room, so the way it was set up is in the village they have suites. And so you go in a room and some of the rooms will have 2 to 3 rooms. And my suite we had 2, so it was 4 of us total. But like you're always around people, like no matter what.
And was this team fully Team Nigeria? Or, I mean, was this suite fully Team Nigeria?
Yeah, it's fully Team Nigeria. Yes.
Okay.
They put you in based off of the country.
The country that year.
And
that
then
makes
also,
sense.
Yes, the way it worked was like different countries had like we're in certain sections.
Yeah.
So like I think we were near like New Zealand and we were near Belgium, I think. And yeah, so that's how it was kind of set up. But yeah, our building was mainly Team Nigeria for sure. And it wasn't just like track, but it was all Nigerian sports. But like I think so like I met Nigerian table tennis player, I met a Nigerian swimmer.
That's low-key fire. That's fire. That's fire.
Yeah. So it was just a bunch of people in general. But my suite were all track, so it just No, I like that. I like that a lot. How was it post Olympics? Like I know that's a big thing, right? Like for sure.
Leaving such a highly acclimated, highly like sought after place, and kind of recalibrating, all right? That it's like, how was that for you?
Yeah, man, I'm glad you asked that because post Olympics, there's a thing called post Olympics blues, and I 100% believe it. It's so real because when I came back, I remember feeling really sad for a little bit, maybe for like a couple of days, because I was just like, dang, I really missed that place. And I think because of the Olympics and how high energy it is, and when you're in that high energy environment for like
2.5 weeks.
Yeah, when you're there for a long time and then you come back to reality in real life, you're just like, bro, like
what's going on? Yeah.
And the thing is, there's so much anticipation and build up even before the Olympics. So like I did a whole training camp in Europe before that. Like I was gone pretty much the whole summer. So like when I came back home, I hadn't been home in like 2 months.
Yeah.
So when I was there, when I came back, I was just like, dang, like now what do I do, right?
Yeah.
And one thing that I'm really grateful for is the fact that I appreciated the journey more than the destination itself. And I remember after my last race there at the Olympics, I remember sitting down, being sad because I didn't really compete the way I wanted to, or didn't run the times I needed to. And one of my friends came to me and said, hey man, you good? It's over. And I don't know, when he said it's over, I was just like, bro, what? Like, that's it?
Yeah.
Like, I worked this childhood dream of mine, this teenage dream of mine.
Yeah.
It came true, it came to pass, but like, just like that, it's over. Like,
yeah.
I don't get no redo. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
But luckily for me, just I knew the journey it took to get here, and it's been such a fun ride. And I really appreciated just the process to get here through it all, because what I ran in college, what I did at high school, a lot of people probably wouldn't have predicted. Like, granted, yeah, I had accolades in high school and in college, but like to make the leaps and bounds I did after college to then become an Olympian, like it makes me really appreciative of the journey.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I really tell a lot of people is like, man, really love the journey more than the destination, because once you get to the destination, all you're gonna want is something else. So for me, when I came back from Paris, it was just, I was thanking God that I really shifted my perspective over the years of really appreciating the journey more than the destination.
Sheesh. Yeah, that's real. Like, really falling in love with the process, and that's something that like I'm heavily resonating with, right? In this season that I'm in my life, like trying to do a lot of things, whether it's like with pod, with Toonie, or whatever the case may be, like just really getting to a place of like kind of literally just being where your feet are at, and like, okay, like I'll get there, right? Because if when I move my feet, I'm gonna move somewhere. Exactly. So I know I'm gonna get there, but loving every part of that. On the other side of, you know, the blues, how do you celebrate, right? Not even in regards to Olympics, but like a personal question in terms of when you PR or when you hit a new goal or like you do something that you're really proud of, right? How do you celebrate?
For sure. No, I definitely highly recommend like celebrating along the way and celebrating those micro victories and those small wins. Because especially at this level, sometimes PRs are few and far between. Like, I remember high school, I used to PR so much. Even in the beginning of like my early post-college days, I was PRing a lot. And now it's like, dang, there might be a season where I don't PR at all. And you're like, ugh. But now, anytime I do have like a small win, I might not like do something to celebrate immediately, but I do also recognize like, you know, thank you God for that PR or that small win. Or I might like, you know, go out to eat somewhere or do something different. But I definitely always try to recognize it and I don't take it lightly. Like if I set up PRs, like even no matter how big or how small, like I still try to acknowledge that moment, because it's so easy to just bypass it and not think much of it. But like, no, celebrate this moment, be happy, be joyous that this thing has happened, because everybody doesn't get that opportunity.
Yeah, and just to put this in perspective, right, for the viewers and for me, right, because that was also a very personal question. What does a small win look like in terms of your field?
Yeah, so for me, sometimes a small win might look like getting through a hard workout, or even doing a run after an injury, right? There's been time, granted, by the grace of God, I've had maybe 2 injuries throughout my career.
Yeah.
Which is like 2 injuries out of like 16 years of running. And one of them only took me out for like a month. So I haven't had to go like to the hospital or anything like that. For like any type of injury and stuff like that. But sometimes like just being able to run after having not been able to run is a win. Or doing a workout, putting a good workout together after having a string of bad workouts is also a win.
Yeah.
Sometimes even winning a race after constantly losing is also a win.
Yeah.
Or shoot, even coming in 2nd or 3rd place after coming in 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th place is a win. And or sometimes even just lacing up and going for an easy run is a win as well. So I think it's all about perspective. So any way you can find a small win, and it doesn't matter as long as it's a win to you. That's really all that matters. And so just going out and showing up can also be a win. Like showing up when you didn't feel like it is also a win too. So just whatever a win is to you.
Okay. Let's, like I've been trying this whole pod to paint this picture for people, right? About how multifaceted you are, all right? Not just track, right? Largely because of faith, right? But also the different avenues that you've kind of taken. So in terms of career, right? Would you say track is your career, or is there something else that also supports you as you're an athlete?
Yeah, so for a while, track was my main career. I recently started working at this place called Armour, which is an athlete mental health company. And so essentially what they do is...
I love this. Actually, very on brand.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Very
on brand. Like I told you, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, I'm really into like mindset, performance, and mental health and things like that. So what they do is they train current and former athletes to be like support peers essentially. And so what they do is they partner with other athletic organizations.
This is amazing.
Whether it's professional, like lower league professional teams, or they're starting to even partner with colleges now to just partner with set up athletes to be able to talk to other athletes who are either, most of them are former athletes, but like I think it's like me and another dude who are still competing in our sport. But primarily everyone's a former athlete. Just give them someone to talk to about mental health. And luckily for me, I've been working on my own personal mindset. So I'm really just teaching people what I've learned over the years. So I really dove into this mindset journey of just bettering my own mindset back in like late 2019, early 2020. And so I feel like all those years of doing that work has prepared me to like work with this company here. And it's been really fun. I really like it. And I've been able to work with other sports other than track, and just being able to talk to them and give them advice. A lot of the athletes I work with are younger than me. So like just being, a listening ear for them, because they don't only talk about problems in their sport, but sometimes they talk about problems in their life. And sometimes the problems in their life can affect their performance in sport.
Correct.
And so just learning that and honing my mental performance, because I want to be a mental performance coach. And it's funny because my background in college was engineering, but I kind of...
Electrical, right?
Yeah, electrical engineering. Yeah.
My twin.
Not facts. And then I went to grad school, did IT and software engineering, but am I doing that?
Grad school where?
Towson.
Okay.
So I went to Hampton for undergrad and did grad school at
Towson. Okay.
But yeah, I really like this company, and they really like the athletes I've been able to work with. It's been really fun. So just helping athletes with their mental health journey. And I did voluntary coaching at a high school this past season as well in this winter and spring, and being able to work with high school athletes closely, like giving them track workouts, but then also really helping their mental game as well. Like just being able to give the knowledge that I had, or even telling people things that I wish I knew growing. Because there's so many times where like people have, like for me, when I was younger and had a bad race, I would just beat myself up. And now I can tell these kids like, nah, man, don't worry. Like on to the next. Like, don't
Yeah.
trip about it. So like, just being able to teach people things that I wish someone taught me back in the day. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I see here, right, and from a personal tip is that like track could be your gifting, right? Like that could be your catalyst. But at the end of the day, we know that like God gives us gifts for his people.
For sure.
You know, and like I really love seeing you like use track and use like your experiences and where you're at as a way to help others and guide others and, you know, be there for others. I think that's like very, very impactful. Yeah, I wanna ask, you know, I wanna close out. I wanna ask you 2 more questions.
Okay.
Right. Question number 1, right? I think the theme of the pod really for me was really understanding you in all your glory, right? Right. And not just track and not just, you know, your technical background or not just traveling the world or training, and even like this was talking earlier, like you've been in 3 different locations training and doing a whole bunch of things, right? Mm-hmm. But for you, like, what is your why?
Dang, what is my why? I think my why is just really, especially in track, I think it's just that curiosity of like how far can I take this? How good can I be? And I think that's what's kept me going for so long, where it's just that wonder and that curiosity. And I think that's what made me fall in love with track to begin with, where it's just like, how fast can I get? How good can I actually be? How good can I be in this sport? And I think just off the track, it's kind of the same, like how far can I take this thing? So I think it just comes from a place of curiosity of like, not only why do I do this, but it's just how good can I be at this?
Last thing is, who are 2 people that you want to see on the pod?
2 people that I would want to see on the pod. I would say one of my good friends, 80.
Okay.
He's a really good guy to interview. He does calligraphy and art and stuff like that. So I think he's really good. And then I have another close friend. His name is Omozopia. He's another one. He is an entrepreneur, does accounting, also a man of faith. I think he's a really good person to have on this pod as well.
Duly noted. And also I want you to shout out your pod, right? And also your faith community. I've seen that y'all started posting a lot more content, kind of getting out there, and I would want you to shout them out.
Yeah, for sure, man. Shout out to 7513 Collective.
Yes.
Not only are we a podcast, we're a brand of different mediums within the 7513 community or within our community in general. The podcast is just one of them. It's called 7513 the podcast, where it's a bunch of young people, we gather together and just talk about different topics that we navigate and go through as believers. And now we're having a new medium called 7513 OTG, where people, it's pretty much like street interview style, ask questions and stuff like that.
I've been seeing them. I love them.
Bible trivia or just random things in general. The podcast is coming back. We're kind of on a hiatus right now. There's a lot of things going on with the members.
Very real.
There's so much going on right now.
That's very real.
But season 4, be on the lookout. We're going to come back better than ever. You know, great topics coming, and just be on the lookout. We thank y'all for y'all support of the podcast so far, and it's been a really fun journey to do that as well.
Yeah. And then shout out your track club.
Oh yeah, man. Shout out my track club, Baltimore 800. Shout outs to Under Armour. Really appreciate y'all for all the support and all the just the resources that y'all give me over the years. You know, you all definitely have played a huge role in my track journey, and I'm super appreciative of it for sure.
You know, with that being said, you know, if I really wanted to sit here and dive into all the aspects and all the different things that, you know, as a believer, as a former track and field athlete, as somebody that wants to take and learn from different people, like we might be here for 2 hours, and I'm not gonna have y'all sit through that. Hopefully we get to do this again sometime, and kind of pick back up where we left off. But with that being said, thank you for sitting through another episode of CurbTalks East, and very blessed to have this platform, to be able to interview great, cool guys like this, to be able to have, my friends here to kind of experience this with me. So with that being said, we're out.
We out, y'all. Peace.